Well, Adrian, it's your turn, truth or dare. Spinning a wine bottle. It stopped facing someone who was sitting on the sofa like a king. Beside him was a hostess who was trying to seduce him, but that didn't affect him. He was like a stone who didn't even melt to that hostess' touch, but he didn't push her away either. Truth, he answered. His voice was cold, but there was a hint of playfulness in it. Placing the flicker of his cigarette between his lips, he raised his eyebrows and looked at the hostess beside him. I'll ask the question, a friend of his said, as he got up from the sofa, with a whiskey bottle in his hands. He was already drunk. Do you have something which you did in the past but regret now? If you have, what is it? The guy asked. A smile appeared on his face. He looked at his drunk friend and chuckled. For the first time in his life, someone aimed a hard question at him. He lowered his eyes and looked at the silver lighter in his hands and played with it for a while. I have, he replied. What? You have? Adrian Harrison has something he regrets? Everyone looked at him with surprised faces. Adrian did nothing but stare at his lighter as he played with it. He clenched his sharp jaws and looked at his friends with a small nod. What the fuck? What the hell is that? Tell us. One of his friends looked into his eyes and asked him. A girl, whom I played for 3 months, knowing that she was innocent. His answer was dangerously honest. He did it. He did it when he was 20 years old and she was just 18 at that time. He never had regrets about anything he did but that thing, eating him alive. His face was serious. The little smile on his lips faded as the darkness suppressed his face. His eyes fell on the back of his right hand. On his hand, there was a unique tattoo that was designed with 2 orcas. The tattoo was somewhat small, but it held so many undying memories. Looking at the tattoo, he was pulled into the past 5 years ago. His mind started to show the pictures of her. She was smiling all the time. She was beautiful. Her beauty was the first thing he got addicted to. Innocent and pure, she had everything a perfect woman would have, but she trusted too much and she loved too much. That was her only weakness. He liked her smile, so he wanted to possess it. He successfully possessed it, but when time passed he got bored of it. Even though she loved deeply, he was just playing with her all the time. Adrian, is it okay if I design the tattoo for you? She asked with a pretty smile on her face. Yes, do it, he whispered against her ear playfully, as he kissed her earlobe. Move away. I can't concentrate when you're here and touching me, pushing him away. She looked at him and smiled. That smile was filled with love and affection she held for him. He was her everything and she gave him everything she had without even thinking about her own future. Then she came to him after some time. Orcas, why them? He asked. He was curious seeing the tattoo she had designed for him. He knew she liked spending time in the aquariums and watching it, but never expected this kind of design for his tattoo. Well, there are so many reasons. Just like you. They are smart, strong, elegant, and deadly at the same time. But most importantly, it's devotion and faithfulness. Aren't they similar to my boyfriend? She was smiling at him with the answer. He looked at the paper in his hands. She had perfectly designed it. He can be sure that he will be the only one who wears that tattoo. Even though she was correct about orcas, she was just wrong about him. He had no devotion and faithfulness in him. Where is she now? Adrian was pulled back from his memories hearing one of his friend's voices. Letting out a deep sigh, he got up from the sofa and looked at his friend. I don't know, he replied. I'm leaving, he said, walking out of the door of the presidential suite he and his friends were drinking. Entering the elevator, he looked at the time. It was almost 10 in the night. He left the hotel and got into his car. Then he drove away. While he was driving, his mind was a mess. He couldn't stop himself from thinking about her. Her smiling face was still inside of his mind and never faded away even after everything was over. Elisha, when would I be able to forget you? He asked. He was guilty of what he did and he regretted it for 5 years. But his heart was cruel and brutal. His heart always wants to do the same thing again. If he ever gets a chance to see her in this lifetime, he would definitely get her and still do the same thing. He didn't know why he didn't want her to smile. Even if he was obsessed with her smile, he didn't want her to smile because that smile made his heart skip a beat with unknown feelings. So he gave her pain and made her cry in front of every colleague in their college. He embarrassed her in front of everyone, and successfully wiped out the beautiful smile she had on her face and replaced it with pain and tears. I was such a bastard. He chuckled, looking out of the window as he sped the car, entering the courtyard of his house. He stopped the car and got out of it as he walked towards his house. As soon as he entered the house, he saw his mother was reading a magazine while sitting on the sofa. "Why are you here, Mom?" he asked, stopping what she was doing. His mother got up from the sofa and walked towards him with an angry expression on her face. "Can't I visit my son?" she asked. "You can," Adrian replied as he walked away from her and sat on the sofa. He looked at his mother and sighed, because he doesn't go home. "Here she is, Adrian. When are you coming home, just for dinner?" His mother's voice was broken. Walking towards him, she asked. Rubbing his forehead with his fingertips, he let out a deep sigh. "Even though you controlled Father's every company well, and became a brilliant CEO, you're a failure if you can never have a good family life. I know you're not interested in getting married because you have so many women around you, but if you ever lost this wealth and your handsome looks, would you think those women would still be with you? The answer is no, so I'm telling you to quit being a playboy and start to think about your life seriously. Just come home and live with us. Then you can begin a new life because we are there to support you. Just find a woman with good qualities to be a wife and get married. You're getting old." Adrian pressed his lips together and stared at his mother. She was both angry and upset. Even if she talked about marriage, she just wanted nothing but to take him back home and make him live with her and his father. "I don't want to get married, Mom." He sighed and replied, "Well, of course, don't marry because no woman can stay with a man like you." She threw the magazine at his face and stared at him with a fire of rage-filled eyes. Then, calming down herself, she spoke again. "I don't know, and I don't care about anything. Just come home," she said as she walked out of the house with anger. Leaning against the sofa, he grabbed a cigarette out of the box and took the flicker between his lips as he lit it. He closed his eyes and peacefully took puffs of the cigarette. All of a sudden, his mind repeated something his mother said. No one will be there for him if he is poor. His heart tightened, remembering something, and his eyes turned red. "It doesn't matter, Adrian. You know my family is also not rich. We are just a normal family. And there were so many hard times for us, but my parents stayed together and overcame it. They loved each other, so I also believe in that. I actually don't want to be a lady of a rich family marrying a rich man. Both of us are poor, so we will get rich together in the future." Her voice was echoing inside of his head. He acted like a guy from a poor family in front of her. But she gladly accepted him, even after telling him he had no money to buy things she liked, clenching his jaws along with his muscles because of anger. He just got up from the sofa and walked upstairs. "Fucking annoying. Alicia, you look so pretty tonight." She blushed after hearing her boyfriend's praise. Biting her lower lip nervously, she smiled at him. He was so handsome and kind, she couldn't believe that she got a boyfriend like him. His dark brown hair was messy. His ocean blue eyes were intimidating, which made her heart flutter. "You look so handsome, Adrian." Wrapping her arms around his neck, she muttered, making him chuckle. Lowering his head, he gently pressed his lips against hers, and at the same time, everything got dark as a big hurricane was coming with hurt as Adrian disappeared from her sight. "Bitch. What made you think that Adrian Harrison would date you seriously?" "He's the freaking son of Eric Harrison. Don't you know that rich guys always like to play with girls like you? Your father is a fucking carpenter. How can a girl like you compare with Adrian? Fucking disgusting. Watch this. You dumbhead." Throwing a phone at her face, a girl laughed as the others joined her soon. Alicia slowly looked at the picture on the phone screen. Her heart shattered into pieces seeing it. Her boyfriend was kissing another girl. Her heart ached and she clutched her uniform tightly. Her breathing became heavy and the suffocating feeling inside of her heart grew harder. "Wake up, Eli. Wake up." Hearing her sister's voice, her eyes snapped open. Her body was trembling and couldn't breathe properly. She hardly raised her arm and pointed to her inhaler. Give it, she forced words out, tears rolling down the corner of her eyes because of the pain inside of her heart. And at the same time she was suffocating. Then she sighed in relief as her sister gave her inhaler and helped her with it. But the pain in her heart was still there. She looked at her sister and forcefully smiled. Another dream about the past? Her sister asked, lowering her eyes. Alicia smiled and nodded. Wiping the tears in her eyes, she tried to sit up on the bed, but she couldn't because of the pain in her chest. I'm gonna kill that bastard one day. Trust me, Alicia. No. Help me to get up, hitting her sister's head. She smiled. Even though her sister was 3 years younger than her, she was way more stubborn than her, and also savage. All right. Don't go to work today, Eli. I'll call your boss, her sister said. No. I have to go today. There's a presentation which I need to do about a new project, Alicia said. As she slowly got up from the bed and walked towards the washroom with the support of her sister. But in this condition, how can you do a presentation? She sighed and looked at her sister's worried face. Patting her head, she smiled at her. I'm okay, Emmy. Just get ready and go to the university. She entered the washroom and closed the door behind her. Then walking towards the mirror, she looked at herself through it. Tears welled up in her eyes and her body again began to tremble. She was not like before. She was now a heart patient and also depressed. Her heart status is getting worse day by day due to the heartbreak of 5 years ago. Even though doctors said it was treatable, it wasn't treatable at all. Here she is still having sudden heart pains. She has no idea when her last breath will be. Maybe it could be in a second. You really gave what I deserved for loving you, Adrian. She sarcastically muttered before walking towards the shower. After taking shower, she walked out of the washroom and got ready. She was asked to dress properly and decently because important guests were coming today. Looking at herself through the mirror, she sighed with satisfaction. Wearing a double-breasted black skirt reached her knees with a light pink chiffon blouse. She looked charming and elegant. Then she tied her hair to a low ponytail. Her face was somewhat pale because of the thing that happened in the morning, but she ignored it and walked away, taking her bag with her. I made breakfast. Please eat and go. She nodded at her sister and pulled a chair out as she sat on it. Then she finished her breakfast and got up to leave. Eli, if anything happens, call me, okay? Elisha's heart tightened. Her sister was taking care of her all the time, even if she was the younger one. I will. With a smile, she replied as she walked out of the house. Coming to the road, she stopped a taxi and got into it, then rested her head against the window of it as she watched the outside. She cannot believe that 5 years had passed, and she was already 23 years old. So many things happened in her life. Her parents passed away from an accident, leaving her and her sister alone. Not only that, but also the boy she loved turned out to be a player who plays with girls' feelings. But the most shocking thing was, he's the only son of Harrison family, and everything he said was lies. Why did she not recognize him? She could have found information about him, but no one knew that he was a son of the Harrison family. He just acted as if he came to their city recently. Miss. She pushed her thoughts away and looked at the driver. Then she found she was already there. With a smile, she got out of the car and gave the money to the driver as she walked towards the building. Can't use this elevator, Alicia. Just use the elevator in the car park. She stopped and looked back at the security inside. Then without any argument, she just walked away and entered the car park. There were a few luxurious cars in the park. Maybe the guests had already come. She thought as she entered the elevator. Then, she came to her office and arranged things for the presentation. Alicia, get ready. You have to do the presentation first. Be there in 15 minutes, she nodded at her boss with a smile. Working as a jewelry designer was not simple for her at all. She just has to work hard for everything. She took her phone out and looked at the photos of her designs. There were more than 5 necklace designs, but her eyes stopped at one necklace, which she designed remembering someone she used to compare with orcas. Letting out a deep sigh, she took her things and walked towards the presentation hall. Everyone is here? She asked her assistant. Yes, but the main guest was not there yet. It's okay. Let's begin, Alicia nodded, and entered the presentation hall as she looked at everyone who was there. Then she walked towards the stage and placed her laptop on the table and looked at everyone. Then, with the signal of her boss, she started to do the presentation. While she was doing the presentation, someone entered the hall, but she didn't pay attention because she was only focused on what she was doing. While explaining about the last design of hers, she looked through the hall, but her eyes stopped at the seat, which was empty a while ago, but now someone is sitting on it. Her heart shook violently seeing the man sitting on it, looking at her with the same emotionless eyes. Her heart was pounding against her chest with fear and hurt. What is he doing here? She didn't want to see him again in her lifetime. Don't ever trust anyone like this. You'll gain nothing but the pain. Eyeing at the girl who was sitting on the cold floor covered with blood, he muttered. He couldn't see her pretty face because of her long raven hair which was hanging through her face. She was beaten up by her classmates. She had no friends or someone to help her. His emotionless eyes were intimidating. He slowly moved towards her and bent down as he caressed her silky hair. He really liked her hair. It made her look so fucking gorgeous. Then he slowly put his hand into his pocket and took a paper cutter out. His heart tightened with the thing that he was going to do to her, but that didn't matter because he's not going to give her to another guy even after he was done with her. Without a second thought, he heartlessly cut off her long hair, making it only reach her neck. He had successfully broken her. He destroyed the smile on her face. Then no other guy will see her smiling. Looking at her pathetic profile, he smirked and turned to leave. Adrian? Why are you doing this to me? We were lovers. His actions stopped hearing her. He turned and looked back at her with a heartless and cruel smile. She was looking up at him with her big, watery eyes. He clenched his jaws seeing her. Even if he just cut her hair, she was still beautiful with the way her hair was now. Walking towards her, he grabbed her from her chin. She hissed from pain and looked into his eyes with her beautiful hazel eyes which were suppressed by tears. We were never lovers, Alicia. I was just playing with you all the time. You were so beautiful and innocent, so I got you. Now we are done. Did I ever ask you to love me, huh? Did I? I never asked you to love me. You fucking did it on your own and now don't blame me. You were my only target ever since I came to this college. Gorgeous, innocent, and hard to get, but now look at you, he mocked. But why? What have I done to you for treating me like this? Her voice was broken and helpless. She didn't move her eyes away from him. Tears welled in her eyes. Then she got up from the floor and walked towards him. With a small smile, she took his hand. Adrian, why are you angry with me? If I did something wrong, tell me. I will not do the same mistake again. Let's forget what happened between us, okay? I don't believe what they are saying. I know you weren't playing with me, and you don't have women everywhere. Please. She spoke, making his heart clenched and regretting his actions. He heartlessly shook her hand away and looked into her eyes. Fuck off, Alicia. You're fucking annoying. Just don't touch me. They are right about me. Wait if you don't believe me. Let me show you, grabbing her from her arm. He walked out of the art hall of the college. Then he threw her against the lockers of their college and grabbed his phone out as he made a call. Then, in a few minutes, the one he was expecting came. With a smirk on his face, he grabbed the girl from her waist and kissed her, letting Alicia watch them. While kissing the girl, he looked at Alicia. The look she had on her face was the most heartbreaking thing he had ever seen. Adrian forced his memories back and looked at the woman who was doing the presentation on the stage. Her hair had grown, already reaching her waist. 5 years had passed, but his heart was still beating in the same way it happened from the first day he saw her walking past him, hugging her art tools against her chest. She didn't even spare a glance at him. Emotions surged into his mind. Sudden happiness spread through his chest seeing her. She was still beautiful and curvaceous. Grazing at her body, his mind showed him the picture of her naked body lying beneath him. He never expected to see her here. All he knew was that she left the city with her sister after her parents' death. His mind was in a daze, couldn't think anything properly. He did nothing but watched her presenting the jewelry designs. Then suddenly her eyes fell on him. His heart stopped for a second, seeing the same familiar eyes. Still beautiful and lovely. Looking at her, he didn't miss the way her body stiffened seeing him. Her eyes turned red. She stared at him with a shocked expression. His heart was pounding against his chest, and he wanted nothing but to go to her and kiss her pinky lips because of the way they parted. She immediately looked away from him and continued her presentation. Her hands were trembling as she pointed the designs on the screen. After finishing her presentation, she immediately excused herself and walked out of the hall. Is she running away from me? He asked himself. Then a smirk appeared on his face as he decided to stay calm. Turning his face to the director of the company, he let out a smile and said something. I need to see that presentation again. Ask her to do it again when everyone left. His heart was again feeling the same feeling, which he felt 5 years ago when she was with him. Lowering his head, he looked at the back of his right hand as he slowly caressed the tattoo on it, clenching his jaws. He raised his perfect eyebrows. His eyes were sharp and cold. His mind was craving to have her back. Seeing her after 5 years, his all-hidden desires surged into him again. The desire for her love and her body, the feeling she gave him, was something he never had with another woman. Only Alicia could satisfy him. Deep inside of his heart, he knew that fact. She was the only one who made his heartbeat go wild and feel unknown feelings when he was with her. So that weird feelings made him ruin her. Adrian, be gentle, okay? This is my first time. She looked at him and mumbled shyly, I will be gentle. He smiled at her and kissed her forehead as she wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face against his neck. She clutched his hair tightly from one hand and dug her nails into his skin because of the pain of her first time. Mr. Harrison, is it okay if I let Alicia do the presentation after lunch? The director asked as Adrian came back from his memories. Oh, okay. He nodded with a small smirk playing on his lips. Adrian, don't leave me, please. I love you. She looked at, grabbed him from his arm, and muttered, not wanting him to leave her. Don't touch me. I don't want you anymore. I already have someone I like. Tears never stopped coming out from her eyes. She lowered her head as she stopped at his right hand. On his palm, there was still the tattoo she designed for him. Then, tell me, why did you do this to me? Played with my feelings and with my whole life. Why me? She asked him. How can you forget the time we spent together, Adrian? How can you just leave me like this? Didn't you agree to be with me for the rest of my life? I will forget every lie you told me and move on. Please just don't leave me. She begged him. Alicia, how can someone fall in love this deeply in 3 months? Don't lie. If you need money, just tell me directly, I'll give you. Just don't fucking bother me, okay? He snarled, pushing her away. His words stabbed straightly against her heart. She couldn't believe her ears. She just couldn't believe her boyfriend's words. She didn't do anything wrong to him, but here he is, hurting her again and again. Pack your things and leave my fucking house. Pushing her towards the door, he said coldly. She forced her tears back and looked at him. I'm not leaving you. I promise to be with you, she muttered. She didn't miss the way his eyes turned dark with anger, but she didn't want to leave, and she was not ready to leave the guy she loved more than her life. Don't anger me, okay? I don't want to hurt you, he sighed, and walked towards her. The danger was encompassing around him, and his eyes were aiming savage fire at her. She took a few steps back and shook her head. She was scared of him. Adrian, I don't believe this. How can you just? Her heart was aching. Her body was numb, and she felt she was about to die from the heart pain. Looking at him, she forcefully smiled and tried to walk towards him, but she couldn't, because he just pushed her out of the door heartlessly. She saw the hatred and disgust he held for her in his eyes. It was obvious that he didn't want her anymore. She never expected this kind of thing when she started to love him. Taking a deep breath, she looked back at him and smiled. I'm leaving. About my clothes and things in your house. Just throw them away. I don't need them back, she said, as she walked away from his house with a broken heart, and also a broken life. Splashing water against her face, Elisha looked at herself through the mirror of the restroom in her department. Her heart was pounding against her chest with pain. Memories surged into her mind and she hardly forced them back. 5 years had passed and she never wanted to meet him again, but yet her fate was also fooling around with her. He was handsome, just like the first day they met. Just glancing at him, one can tell that he was from a rich family. Why couldn't she understand it 5 years ago? Tears rolled down from her eyes looking at her own self through the mirror. She was crying for her and what happened to her. He was living his life well even after hurting her while she suffered all these years. Eli. Are you crying? She subconsciously wiped her tears and looked at her friend Mia. Then she immediately shook her head and smiled. You don't look well. Your face is also pale. I think you should go home now, asked the director. Elisha nodded at her friend and walked out of the restroom. She should really leave now. Her presentation is also done. Where is the director? Is he with guests? She asked Mia. I don't know. But let's go. I saw he was going towards the food criteria. She nodded at Mia and walked towards the food criteria. As she entered, her actions stopped seeing Adrian, who was sitting next to her director. She helplessly took a few steps back and did not want to go there. She didn't want to see him. And she didn't want him to see her. Giving up on talking to her director, she turned to leave. But suddenly, she was stopped by her director's voice. Her heartbeat increased with horror. Taking a deep breath, she turned and looked at her director, ignoring the man who was sitting next to him. Elisha, you have to do the presentation for Mr. Harrison again. Hope you'll be there after lunch. Her whole body went numb. She looked at Mia and waited for a while as she walked towards the director. Sir, I'm here to ask for a leave. I'm not feeling well today. Is it okay if I give my presentation to Mia? Please, she smiled at the director and uttered, Adrian was her nightmare, and there's no way she's going to spend time with that nightmare that haunts her every night. She just didn't want to get hurt again and remember the painful past. She patiently waited for the director's reply, but deep inside she was helpless and hurt with memories that came to her mind after seeing him. No. I want her to do it. She moved her eyes and looked at Adrian, who was looking at her. There was a little smirk playing on his lips. He is still the same, arrogant and heartless. She knew he was doing it intentionally, and he again wanted to hurt her even after 5 years. She moved her eyes from him and looked at the director. He was also helpless in front of a man like Adrian, taking a deep breath. She lowered her head. Her heart was in pain again, and suddenly her breathing became heavy. She shouldn't be too emotional because it will always affect her, but how can she not be emotional? Elisha, do it and leave, okay? The director said. She nodded at him and smiled forcefully. Then she turned to leave, but again she was stopped by Adrian's voice. You want to join us for lunch? Her eyes turned red hearing him. Her heart felt as if someone was clutching it tightly. For lunch. She laughed coldly, remembering how he embarrassed her 5 years ago by throwing his food plate at her, telling everyone that she was seducing him even after the breakup. I just had my lunch. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. She smiled at him and left the place without even looking back. She straightly walked into her office, then sat on her seat as she opened her bag and took out her inhaler. Inhaling it, she sighed in relief. She stared at the sketchbook on her office table. Then she took it as she opened it. Looking at the jewelry designs in it, she smiled. Then memories suppressed her mind without any effort. Hey. Can I sit here? Hearing someone was talking to her. She looked. Then she was greeted with a pair of ocean blue eyes. Slowly her eyes moved through the face of the boy who was smiling at her. Her heart skipped a beat seeing how handsome he was. She forcefully smiled at him and nodded before moving her things away from where he asked to sit. Letting him sit properly, she moved her chair away from him slightly and looked at her sketchbook again as she continued what she was doing. She was drawing a sailing ship, taking the darkest pencil from her case. She slowly drew the outline, but suddenly she was stopped. She looked at her hand as she saw someone was touching her hand. Turning her face, she looked at the boy who was touching her hand and stopping what she was doing. Looking at him with a questioning gaze, she slowly removed his hand from her hand. I'm sorry. Just wanted to ask, why are you using the darkest pencil for the outline? He nervously said. Alicia looked at his innocent and honest expression and smiled. Her heart was beating fast, and it was the first time she was feeling that. She bit her lower lip innocently and looked at her sketchbook again. Well, I was going to color these in black. She pointed to the body of the ship and said, "Oh, okay. It's beautiful." He smiled at her. His smile was beautiful. She hadn't seen a beautiful smile like his before. His eyes were sparkling. "Thank you." She smiled back at him and looked at her book as she continued what she was doing. She felt he was gazing at her all the time, but she didn't try to look at him. Finally, she finished what she was doing and gathered her things, wanting to go to her class. "Here, you dropped this." Giving one of her pencils to her, he got up from his chair. Then he smiled. She took it and nodded at him with a smile. "I'm Adrian. Just came to this college a few days ago." He introduced himself to her with a beautiful smile. Adrian. Hearing his name for the first time, she guessed that she will never forget it in her lifetime. And it was the beginning of everything. "Adrian, don't be angry at me for asking this from you, but do you know that Alicia's parents passed away last night because of an accident?" Adrian subconsciously stopped what he was doing, slowly turning around and looking at his friend who just came to him with a piece of deadly news. Her parents died. His heart was pierced by what he heard, but he knew he didn't have anything to do with it. "Is that so? But I don't care. Just leave." Betraying his own heart, he said. His body was trembling. But he didn't let his friend see it. Keeping his emotionless face, he stared at his phone. Then, after his friend left, he stood up from his chair and ran out of the college, ignoring everything. He did nothing but run towards her house. But he didn't enter the house. He stopped at the courtyard of her small house and looked inside of the house through the opened window. His heart tightened seeing Alicia, who was sitting on the floor. She was pale. Her eyes were red from crying. Her body was extremely thin. There was no energy in it, and her smile was nowhere to be seen. She could be compared to a corpse. His eyes filled with tears looking at her. He didn't know why, and it was the first time tears suppressed his eyes. Taking a deep breath, he entered the house and walked in front of her. She slowly raised her gorgeous but lifeless eyes and looked at him. There were no emotions in them. They were just looking at him as if he was a stranger. She was helpless. He knew she didn't have much money. They were not rich people, and without her parents she was lost with her sister. He knew about her family more than anyone. Her parents treated him well when she took him home, telling them that she found a boyfriend with good qualities. He remembered everything looking at her. Even if they were poor, they were a happy family. He put his hand into his pocket and took his wallet out as he grabbed his own card, which was given by his father. "Keep this and live." Placing it in front of her, he uttered. Her eyes fell on the card he put in front of her. Her lips slowly curled upwards to a smile filled with pain. Then her eyes fell on him. She shook her head and smiled at him. "I don't need this to live. I will live on my own. Thank you." His heart tightened hearing her. He felt guilty and hurt seeing her like that. "How are you going to live without money?" he asked. "I still have my brain and hands. I can think and work. Please don't worry, and thank you for visiting," she said as she got up from the floor. But because was sitting on the floor for a long time, her legs were numb. Adrian moved his arm to help her, but she dodged his touch and took a few steps back. It was the first time she rejected his touch. His heart clenched, but ignoring the feelings inside of his heart, he took his card and left the house. While walking away, he looked back at her, but she was not looking at him like she always did. After hurting her limitlessly, he knew that's what he deserved, and that's what he always wanted to see. He wanted to see her staying away from him, and now it has happened successfully. He forced his memories back and looked at the woman who just entered the hall for the presentation. Just like she said, she had worked and used her brain to live. She didn't need his money at that time, and it was obvious that she had confidence in herself. Adrian didn't move his eyes away from her while she was doing the presentation, and he didn't listen to her either. All he did was recall their past happy memories. She was a perfect girlfriend, but he lost her because of his own fault. Then suddenly she stopped and looked at him, gazing at him for a while. She looked at the screen as she showed images of a necklace which had a pendant designed with orcas. He looked at the image on the screen, and his heartbeat increased. Meaning of this necklace is faithfulness. Orcas mate for life, and they are the symbol of enduring love, faithfulness, and devotion. So I designed this for someone to gift this necklace for his or her lover. Adrian looked at her face as she explained it. Then moving his eyes away from her, he looked at his hand. Faithfulness and devotion. He smiled and caressed the tattoo on his hand as he looked at her again. Then she was already explaining about another jewelry design. After she was done with her presentation, she came down from the stage and walked towards her director, ignoring him completely. He knew she was going to ask for the leave, but there's no way he was letting her go without talking to her. I'm interested in these designs. I need to talk to her privately, turning his face. He spoke to the director. Then the director nodded at him with a happy expression and got up from his seat. Who would say no to a man like Adrian? Having a good conversation with him is also enough for the people. Adran was known as the youngest billionaire in the country, and he was a born emperor when it comes to business. Having a partnership with him means a huge victory to the other companies, so the director would never lose his chances. Alicia, you talk to Mr. Harrison and go home. He's interested in your designs, the director said as he flew out of the hall, leaving them alone. After the director left, Adrian got up from his seat and walked towards Alicia. She was looking down, but her hands were trembling. Liza, it's been 5 years. For the first time after 5 fucking years. He called the nickname he gave her. She slowly raised her head and looked at him. Her eyes were empty, with no emotions or no happiness to see him. His heart unknowingly ached, seeing the empty calmness in her eyes. You've become even more gorgeous. How have you been? He asked with a smile. Even if he talked, he didn't gain any answer or a word from her. She just did nothing but stared into his eyes. Raising his arm, he slowly moved closer to her, wanting to touch her face, but she swiftly dodged his touch and took a few steps back. Can I leave, Mr. Harrison? She asked. He clenched his jaws, hearing her calling him Mr. Harrison. Ignoring the fact that he hurt her deeply, he moved closer to her and wrapped his arm around her slim waist before pulling her to him. No. You can't leave after barging into my life again, he whispered against her ear. Her body stiffened, placing both hands against his chest. She pushed him away. Please let me go. I'm not a plaything. Looking into his eyes with her already watering eyes, she muttered, looking at her innocent and charming face. He wanted to have her again. He liked this innocent face of her, and now he wants her back. All right, let's start again. I promise I won't hurt you this time. He was shameless. He knew that he was being a jerk in front of her, and he had no shame in him. Even after what he did to her, and how he broke the promises he gave her. I'm sorry, I can't. Please talk about the business. She rejected him and took the sketchbook out and opened it as she stopped at the jewelry designs. These are the other designs I worked with. Please have a look. Giving her sketchbook to him, she said. Adrian was not happy with her actions at all. He wanted her to smile at him just like 5 years ago. Even if it was impossible, he wanted her to smile at him because he was selfish. He still didn't care about her feelings. All he wanted was his happiness. He grabbed the sketchbook from her and threw it onto a chair, then caught her chin and made her face him. He was angry because she was not paying attention to him like she always did. Be with me, Lisa. I will give you everything. He smiled at her. Everything. She questioned him with a surprised tone. His heart filled with happiness with the thought of her agreeing to be with him again. Yes. Every fucking thing. He caressed her face with a bright smile. Just like you gave me 5 years ago. Just like you watched my classmates hitting me and bullying me brutally. Just like you threw food at me and made others laugh at me. Or just like you cut my long hair heartlessly. If not, just like you showed my naked pictures to your friends and laughed at me. Not only that, you even show them you and me having sex. So is that everything? Adrian's body shook violently hearing her. He never expected. He just didn't expect her to remind him what he had regretted over the past 5 years. Her every word stabbed his heart brutally without mercy. His heart was aching. He felt like killing himself seeing the girl who loved him more than her life looking at him emotionlessly. Tears were rolling down from her eyes. The look she had on her face pulled him back to the past of 5 years ago. Adrian. Give me. I need to watch it too. Fuck. You're awesome. One of his friend grabbed his phone from him and watched the video which was playing on the phone. There were only boys inside of the classroom. And one girl was standing in front of him with a pale face. She raised her head and looked at him. Her gorgeous hazel eyes were filled with tears. They were begging him not to do what he was doing. He placed the cigarette between his lips and took a deep puff as he blew a few smoke rings. His eyes didn't leave hers. He was emotionlessly looking at her as if she was nothing to him. He saw the hurt and pain in her eyes. Most importantly, there was betrayal with them. She's hot, isn't she? Look at her body, fucking gorgeous. Same as her face. Adrian, you are the luckiest guy in this damn collage. No matter what his friend said. His eyes didn't leave her. Tears rolled down from her eyes, and she lowered her head and clutched the skirt she was wearing. Her body was trembling with both embarrassment and fear. Liza, come here, he said. She raised her head and looked at him but didn't move. She only watched his face and didn't even move. Her action angered him. He got up from the seat he was sitting in and walked towards her. Grabbing her from her arm, he pulled her to him. Wanna see me fucking her here? With a smirk, he turned his head back and looked at his friends. Then wrapping his arm around her waist, he hugged her against his chest and kissed her head. Yes. Do it. I want to see her doing it with my own eyes. Fuck. She's a fucking seductress. Her one touch would make men kneel in front of her, his heart filled with honor and pride hearing what his friend said. Of course, the pleasure she gave him on the bed was something which he couldn't forget. Her soft and delicate body was just fucking amazing. Shall we? For the one last time. As breakup sex, he shamelessly said, Adrian, please. Why are you doing this to me? Let me go. I don't want. Hearing her voice, his heart tightened. She looked up at him with pleading eyes. She was begging him not to do anything to her. She was innocent and pure. She looked at him innocently and smiled. She clutched his shirt tightly with her trembling hands and smiled at him forcefully. He clenched his jaws and watched her beautiful face. Why are you smiling? He asked her. Then she shook her head and held his hand as she intertwined their fingers. Well, I love you. And didn't you like it when I smiled at you? She innocently asked. Adrian's heart filled with both regret and pain. He lowered his head and waited for a while before pushing her away, heartlessly. Elisha cried from pain, as her head hit against the nearest wall because of Adrian's push. She fell down, but she immediately got up from the ground and looked at Adrian. Seeing her face, his heart froze. He didn't mean to hurt her. His body began to tremble seeing the thick bloodline dripping down from her forehead. Fuck. Don't hurt her. He heard one of his friends saying. He looked at the boy who said it and clenched his jaws seeing that he was looking at Elisha with softened eyes. His eyes turned cold, but he forced himself back not to start a fight with his friends just because of an useless woman. Fuck off. Scram, he roared. Elisha looked at him for a while and nodded as she ran out of the room, covering her forehead from her palm. He watched her leaving and looked at his friends who were looking at him with shocked faces. Give me the phone, he commanded. Then, the one who was keeping his phone immediately came and gave it to him. Taking the phone, he just looked at the screen. His heart tightened and he immediately regretted what he did. It was a video of both he and Elisha having sex. She didn't even know that he recorded everything that happened between them. If she ever knew what was inside of his mind, she would never love him. And it was obvious. You guys better keep your mouths shut. If I ever heard this from anyone other than you guys count yourself as dead, he warned every boy who was there, and smirked. Everyone nodded at him obediently, because who dares to go against Adrian Harrison's words? Then he left the classroom ignoring everyone. Liza, I'm sorry. He suppressed painful memories and looked at the girl in front of him. Her eyes were filled with tears. He had hurt her so badly, and even he couldn't get over it. He knew his apology didn't work, but in the deep inside of his heart, he had a hope that she would forgive him one day. Why didn't you tell it 5 years ago, Adrian? She painfully smiled and asked him, making him utterly speechless. He watched her without uttering a word. He was both hurt and numb. Because of his stupidity when he was young. He couldn't believe why he was so fucking ignorant. If his mother ever found out about the thing he did to Alicia, he was sure that it would be his last day of taking breath. Can we just talk about everything? I need to talk to you, Alicia, please. He finally managed to let his words out. I can't. We don't have anything to talk about, Adrian. Did you ever let me talk to you 5 years ago? You just didn't even listen to me. Please, Adrian. I beg you. Just let me go. You played with me enough. Please, I'm not strong enough to bear another heartbreak. Just let go of the past, she calmly spoke, then smiled at him as she walked past him and took her sketchbook. He turned and looked at her sketchbook. He remembered the first day he talked to her. She was just an innocent girl. Can you let go of the past and be with me? I swear to God that I won't make the same mistake again. He walked towards her and hugged her from behind as he buried his face against her neck and inhaled her scent, which he loved the most. I will also not do the same mistake again. Pulling herself away from his embrace, she walked away without even looking back at him. Adrian laughed at himself for being shameless. Even after what he did to her, he still wants her. She was not a dumb woman. She was always intelligent, but 5 years ago she was blinded by the love, so that's why she acted dumb. I'm taking you for a dinner. Get ready. Adrian came and whispered against Alicia's ear. She blushed and looked at him. Then looking at his handsome face, she sighed and shook her head. She didn't want to spend his money. Going to a dinner means costing too much money. There's no need for that, Adrian. Let me make dinner for you. Just don't waste money now. Kissing his jaw, she smiled at him. He looked at her with a stunned face and forcefully smiled. You don't like going out for a dinner date? We never went for something like that, he said, wrapping his arms around her waist. Alicia looked at his upset and cute face. Then she sighed and shook her head. She liked it. She always wanted to go out with him. She loved him so much, and as lovers they should do things like that. She smiled at him and spoke. I love it, Adrian. I want to go with you, but we will go in the future. We shouldn't waste money. You don't have to do something like this. I just always love you, even if you didn't take me out. She wrapped her arms around his neck and spoke. Then she pecked on his lips and smiled beautifully at him. Then he smiled at her and nodded with an understanding gaze. Then he simply picked her up and walked upstairs of his house. Then, why don't we do some exercises? He said as he kissed her neck. You always have this on your mind. Aren't you, Adrian? You're just a perverted boyfriend. Wrapping her legs around his torso, she laughed. He always did it, just simply picking her up and going to the bedroom and throwing her onto the bed. Then she won't be able to walk properly because of his stamina. He just simply makes her exhausted. Alicia, how was it? Did Mr. Harrison agree with our project? As soon as she stepped out of the hall, she was hit by a deadly question from her director. She bit her lower lip and nervously looked at him. She didn't have the time to talk with him about the project. She lowered her head and stayed without uttering a word. Then her director sighed. You really? But his voice stopped suddenly. She looked at him and saw he was looking behind her with an obedient smile on his face. She guessed who was behind her, and she immediately moved away and stood next to her director, looking at the wealthiest man of her country. She laughed at herself for being a fool in front of him. He acted as a poor guy, but now he's standing in front of her as the youngest and wealthiest businessman in the country. He was a billionaire. Not only that, he was the only son of the Harrison family. She felt pity for her with the thought of how she asked him to save his money without wasting it. No matter how he wasted his money, he would never be able to finish the whole wealth of his family. I will invest for the project, but the necklace which has orcas, I need that one personally, and she's forbidden making more than one necklace. It should be exclusive for me. Alicia looked at him emotionlessly and laughed coldly. He even dared to say that, faithfulness and devotion. He just simply doesn't deserve that necklace. He had no faithfulness or devotion. He was just nothing but a player who played with her feelings. All right, Mr. Harrison. I can guarantee that she will give her design to you as an exclusive one. The director's voice came out immediately as soon as he heard Adrian's words. I see. Mr. Harrison also has an orca tattoo. Such a fate. The director looked at Alicia and smiled happily. She forcefully arched her lips and lowered her head as her eyes fell on Adrian's hands. He still has the tattoo she designed for him. He was the first one and the last one she designed a tattoo for. She couldn't understand why he's still keeping it. He disgusted her and he just simply hated her 5 years ago. But why does he still have the tattoo? But does she have to care? No, she won't care about it because she didn't have the heart to believe a man again in her lifetime, and especially, she will never believe him. She will never trust Adrian Harrison again. My girlfriend designed it. Hearing his shameless answer, she looked into his ocean blues orbs and parted her lips wanting to tell something. But she forced herself back. His girlfriend or the girl he played for 3 months. Adrian was looking at her, but she completely ignored his gaze. Oh, she must be really lucky. Mr. Harrison is going to give this beautiful necklace to her? Alicia was angry at her director. He was asking questions without even thinking about his status. He didn't have the right to ask personal things from guests, but look at him. He was just like a reckless dog. Yes. Adrian answered and looked at Alicia. She stared at him for a while and smiled coldly, then looked at her director wanting to stop him before he could ask any more useless questions. Sir, I need to go now. I'm not feeling well. Can I take my leave? She asked. Then the director smiled at her and nodded as he patted her head with love. She knew it was because Adrian liked her designs and agreed to invest in them and be partners. She forcefully smiled at the director and turned to leave. She swiftly walked away from him and sighed in relief. Without waiting for the elevator, she walked through the staircase as she finally entered her office. Collecting her things, she put them inside of her bag and walked out of her office. Again, she used the staircase to go to the basement of the building. She didn't use elevators because she knew there was a possibility for her to meet him in elevators. She didn't want to see him or meet him. So she just simply avoided everything. She took a deep breath of fresh air as she walked out of the building. Taking her phone out, she looked at the time, then hurried her footsteps as she walked towards the road wanting to get a taxi. She waited there for a while for a taxi. Then she smiled seeing one and she wanted to stop it, but before she could do anything, a black Rolls-Royce Ghost stopped in front of her, and a man in black got off it as he walked towards her. Alicia subconsciously took a few steps back, seeing the well-built man in front of her. She was just scared seeing him. He stopped 2 feet away from her and looked down at her. Miss, please come with me, the man said. She shook her head and hugged her bag against her chest, and looked at the car again before looking at the road. Her heart shattered into pieces, seeing that the taxi she wanted to stop was leaving. Looking at the man again, she started to wonder why he wanted her to go with him. It was obvious that he didn't want to rob her. Seeing the car he just got down from, she didn't have the courage to think about him like that. Then maybe he's here to kidnap her and rape. But she just didn't understand. Please come. He again spoke gently. But instead of listening to him, she turned to leave, but her arm was grabbed by the man, and he covered her mouth as he dragged her towards the car and opened the door of back seats. Then he just pushed her inside of it. Let me go, Alicia helplessly yelled, but just simply closed the door, ignoring her, and walked towards the passenger seat as he got it. She was both helpless and scared. Even if she knew that she's dying, she just didn't want to die today. I'm gonna call the police. How can you just? Grabbing her phone out, she immediately dialed the number with her trembling hands. But she was shocked as someone snatched her phone and threw it out of the window of the car. Horror took over her, and she slowly turned and looked at the man sitting next to her. He was looking at her with a small smile playing on his lips as if he was enjoying her helplessness. She moved away from him and looked into his blue eyes. Seamus? You didn't hurt her, right? She was just so scared, he chuckled. No, boss, I didn't hurt her. The man from earlier replied without even looking back at them. Tears filled her eyes because of the fear and hurt. She had no idea what he's going to do to her, but she just didn't want to be with him even for a second. Let me go, Adrian. You have nothing to get from me. Drive to my apartment, he ordered the chauffeur. Then the chauffeur nodded at him and sped the car. Turning his face, he looked at Alicia, who was looking at him with helpless eyes. She was crying. He knew he was not doing a good thing, but he wanted to be with her for a while. He missed her, and he just fucking missed her for years. He dreamt about her countless times, and he always wanted to have her in his arms. Let me go, she whimpered, moving closer to her. He wiped her tears away and smiled at her. He was not going to let her go. He just wanted to play with her again. She looked like the same teenage girl whom he fooled around for 3 months. But this time, his heart was somewhat changed. He didn't feel like hurting her. I just want to talk to you, Liza. Just please don't be stubborn. He caressed her face and said. Then she lowered her eyes and clutched her dress tightly. He watched her innocent profile for a while and sighed. Then, they finally arrived at the apartment he had here. Getting out of the car, he walked towards her side and opened the door for her. Knowing that she had no desire to get down from the car, he caught her wrist and pulled her out before closing the door. Then he entered the building and took the elevator to his apartment. Please, let me go, Adrian. I don't want to talk to you, she said while trying to pull her hand away from his grip, but he had no desire to let her go. Ignoring her, he just simply entered his apartment, pressing the password on his door. Then he pulled her in and closed the door as he let go of her hand. Looking at her face for a while, he sighed and walked towards the sofa, as he took off his coat and threw it onto the sofa. Come here, he said, looking at her, but she didn't even move. All she did was staring at him without doing anything. Adrian let out a sigh and walked towards her as he grabbed her from her waist and took her towards the sofa. Then he made her sit on it and looked at her. Alicia, I know that I was wrong all the time, but can we at least talk? I searched for you everywhere, he said as he rubbed his forehead. He wasn't lying, he really looked for her. But he gave up. He felt that he didn't have to look for her and her life was no matter to him, but deep inside of his heart, he cared, and he wanted to find her and see her for one last time. He wanted to apologize. Will it change the past, Adrian? Will it change the pain I went through because of you? Her question pushed him into a deadly silence. He didn't have an answer. He knew nothing can change the things he did to her. He clearly understood her love for him, but yet he kept hurting her and kept insulting her in front of everyone. He lowered his eyes. He didn't know how to face her. She was always an innocent girl, but he heartlessly ruined her. You can't change anything. You just can't make me like I was 5 years ago. Her voice was broken. Her eyes let out tears of heartbreak and pain. He looked at her eyes and his eyes subconsciously turned red. He was ignorant at that time. He thought she was just a plaything to him, but now he can understand that girls like her were extremely rare. He lost a diamond because of his own stupidity. She was not a woman who loved money. She didn't want her man to be rich, and she just simply didn't want any glory from the man she dated. She always asked him to don't waste money and collect them for his own future. His heart ached with the thoughts of her smiling at him and telling him not to waste money or don't do anything stupid. Can't you forget everything and be with me? I swear to God that I would give you a better life. I will give you everything, Alicia. I won't hurt you again, he said as he sat next to her on the sofa and took her hand. How can I forget Adrian? Just tell me, as a woman, how can I be with a man who hurt me limitlessly and who insulted me in front of everyone for nothing? You showed my privacy to others. Your heart knows what you did. Please let me go. I don't want this. She pulled her hand from his hands and stood up from the sofa. He looked at her and clenched his jaws. He didn't know what to do and how to make her mind. He rubbed his forehead and took his phone out. Then he got up from the sofa and walked away from the living room. Walking to the balcony, he dialed his mother's number. Adrian, you're coming home? He pressed his lips together, hearing his mother's excited voice. Does she only have it on her mind? He asked himself and sighed before talking. No, Mom. I just wanted to know something, he replied, making his mother groan angrily. What? Her voice was strict so suddenly. He knew that she was angry because of the answer he gave her. Adrian waited for a while before talking. He didn't know how to tell this to his mother. He just wanted to make Alicia come to him and be with him again. I don't know, Mom. I just want to tell you that I like a girl, but she doesn't want me. What should I do? He helplessly asked. You like a girl. This is the second time you're telling me that you like a girl. Who is she? His mother's question stunned him. He suddenly remembered something he almost forgot. A small smile appeared on his face, remembering that, but his heart soon covered with hurt knowing that she had changed. The same one as before. The same girl from 5 years ago, he replied. Oh, is she back? But she doesn't want you anymore. Why don't you take her home, Adrian? I really want to see her and talk to her. Hearing his mother. He sighed and shook his head. His mother was not a help at all. She just wants to make him come home. Then he walked away from the place he was in and entered the living room as he looked at Alicia, who was looking out of the window. Mom, you talk to her and tell that I'm a good man now, he said, as he walked towards Alicia and gave the phone to her. It's my mom. Talk to her, he said. She looked at him with her empty eyes and moved to his phone. Without rejecting him, she took his phone and placed it against her ear. Hello? She spoke. Then she looked at him and walked away as she listened to the phone. Adrian slowly moved closer to her, wanting to listen to her and what his mother was saying, but he couldn't. I'm sorry, Mrs. Harrison. I can't be with your son. Please understand me. I hope you will ask reasons for our breakup. From him, thank you for talking to me. Goodbye. Adrian's heart tightened hearing her rejection. He looked at her calm face as she walked towards him and handed over the phone. She looked at him and sighed. Let me go now, she said without waiting for him to speak. Adrian looked at her and then looked at his phone. Then he hung up the call and threw his phone aside angrily as he grabbed her from her arm and threw her against the nearest wall. She hissed from pain as her back hit against the wall. I was so gentle to you, Alicia. Don't test my anger limit, okay? You should fucking be with me and I don't give a fuck about anything anymore. Oh, you have a sister, right? I can make a 1 call now and send men to rape her now. You want me to do it? He snarled. What? No, are you crazy? Her voice was trembling. Yes, I'm fucking crazy. So you should be with me. Don't make me hurt you in bad ways, Alicia. Fucking listen to me. Grabbing her chin, he uttered. Then he smirked, seeing her fear-filled face, and lowered his head before pressing his lips against hers. He let out a complacent groan as he felt her soft lips. He missed them for years. He started to kiss her passionately and wrapped his one arm around her waist, while his other arm placed the back of her head and deepened the kiss. He forcefully pried open her lips and pushed his tongue inside of her mouth. Alicia clutched his shirt tightly and tried to take breaths, but she couldn't because of his roughness. Then, feeling that she was not comfortable, he pulled himself away from her and looked at her red face. She was trying to catch her breath. Her face had turned pale. She looked at him and shook her head. My inhaler. Please, Adrian, she muttered as she pointed her finger towards her bag. He watched her for a while and his heart shook violently as seeing her struggling to breathe. He felt he was going insane. He immediately strode towards her bag and grabbed it as he opened it and found the inhaler. He sighed in relief as he walked towards her and helped her to take it. Alicia looked at him and smiled slightly as she slowly sat on the floor. Then, taking somewhat heavy breaths, she closed her eyes and rested her head against the wall. What happened? What's wrong with you? You never used these things before. Hearing Adrian's question, Alicia opened her eyes and looked at him. What happened? You never used these things before. His questions made her heart cold, and at the same time laugh. Everything happened because of him, and now he's asking her what happened. She shook her head and slowly stood up, then walked towards her bag and put the inhaler inside of the bag. I asked you a question, he snarled. She stopped what she was doing and looked at him. Then she waited for a while without talking to him. She didn't know how to tell him that everything happened because of him, and she didn't know how to tell him that she was a heart patient now and not as energetic as before. She was weak. She didn't know when she would let out her last breath. Her life was not clear anymore. Nothing. I just use it, she replied, ignoring his suspicious gaze. Then she wanted to find her phone, but she remembered that he threw it away. Looking at him again, she walked towards him, then sighed. Please let me go now, Adrian. I'm really not feeling well, she muttered. She was not telling lies. She was really uncomfortable with everything. She got heartaches 2 times today, so she really needed to rest. Go to the room and rest. I'll call a doctor, he replied and took her hand as he walked towards the master bedroom in the apartment and asked her to go in. Alicia didn't want to be with him. She wanted to go home. She sighed in annoyance and looked at him. Let me go home, please. I can get rest once I'm home. Please, Adrian, she pleaded. No. I'm your home, Alicia. You need to be with me. From now on, you're living with me. Don't act as if we didn't live together, Lisa. His words made her heart beat fast with horror. Live with him again. She never wanted to live with him again and think about her life with him again. She wanted to forget him. I can't, Adrian. Please don't force me to do things. Please, I beg you. She grabbed his arm and said, tears were rolling down from her eyes as she spoke. She was scared to live with him again. She just didn't want to get hurt. If she got another heartbreak, she would just die. She felt helpless. She didn't know how to explain her situation. She cried miserably in front of him just like it happened 5 years ago. At that time, she was crying asking him to don't leave and be with her. But now she's crying asking him to let her go. Raising his arm, Adrian slowly wiped her tears. Then he kissed her forehead with a smile on his lips. Seeing his lovely smile, Alicia was pulled into the memories of 5 years ago. Can I kiss you? Moving his face towards her, he asked. She looked at him shyly and nodded, biting her lips. She was expecting him to kiss her on her lips, but the thing he did was totally different. He just pressed his lips against her forehead, making her heartbeat go wild. It was the first time a boy kissed her forehead. Her father had kissed her on her forehead, but this feeling was totally different. She slowly raised her head and looked up at him. As she looked, all she could see was his smiling face. His face was lovely and innocent. She felt him. She felt that he really loved her. Her heart was beating fast, and she was just so happy. Smiling back at him, she slowly wrapped her arms around his neck and stood from her toes before kissing his forehead too. But I need to kiss your lips too, he chuckled and said. Then lowering his head, he slowly pressed his lips against hers, taking her first kiss. Their kiss was pure. There was no lust in it. Even if he deepened the kiss, he didn't make it too deep. He knew her limits and he knew that it was her first kiss. So he was gentle and slower as he kissed her lips, breaking their kiss. He looked at her with a smile as she smiled at him too. She was shy, and she felt that she was going insane with everything. The guy in front of her had successfully captured her heart. She knew he got his own tricks when it comes to her, but she just let him use his tricks for her. You're blushing, Liza. He smiled and kissed her forehead as he took her hand and walked through the road. It was nighttime. They just went for a walk. It was romantic, holding each other's hands while walking through the road. No one was there to bother them. No one was there to talk to them and disturb their lovely moment. She felt it was the best day of her life. She felt that she was so lucky to have him as her boyfriend. He had everything she was expecting her boyfriend to have. A kind personality, caring, lovely, and cheerful. And he was faithful and never lied to her. Let's have fun. Suddenly, he looked down at her and smiled brightly. She was confused hearing him. She didn't know what he meant by have fun, but soon she realized. He ran holding her hand and entered a nightclub. Pushing people away playfully, he took her into the middle of the dancing floor. Then, he looked at her and smiled, moving his eyes through her body and looking at her dress. He took off his denim jacket and placed her on her shoulders. Alicia smiled at him and wore it. She was wearing a short denim skirt and white cami top, so he covered her body with his jacket. Let's dance, he whispered against her ear, and wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her to him. She nodded at him and wrapped her arms around his neck. Then they began to dance. Their dance began as an elegant couple dance but ended with a crazy dance. People around them looked at them as if they were insane. But they didn't give a damn about anything. She laughed looking at Adrian. His hair was messy, and his white t-shirt he was wearing was soaked with his sweat. Then he stopped dancing, and took her hand as he ran and grabbed a wine glass from a lady who was drinking. Then he drank it, and left a half as he let her drink it. "Thank you," he muttered at the lady, and ran away holding Alicia's hand. She couldn't help but laugh because of his actions. Looking at the lady, she saw how furious she was. "You bloody moron." They exited the club with her shout. Coming out of the club, he lowered his head and looked at her with a smile. "You're crazy." She laughed and hit his shoulder. He watched her for a while and smiled. Then wiped the sweat she had on her forehead with his palm and pecked on her lips. Then he untied her hair and made her long hair fall down through her shoulders and caressed her hair. "Gorgeous," he muttered, and then wrapped his arm around her waist as he walked again. Stopping in front of an ice cream shop, he looked at her and winked. "Chocolate," before he could ask her. She replied. Then he nodded and pinched her cheek. "2 chocolates," he said, and watched her until he got ice cream. Giving one ice cream to her, he took one. Alicia took a bite as soon as she took it, and before she could get another bite, he snatched her ice cream and gave her his. Then he ate hers with a smile on his face. For the first time in her life, she knew that she was in love with a boy so deeply and without a limit. She would never be able to get over this love she had for him. "There's a couple restaurants. Let's go," finishing the whole ice cream. He looked at her and smiled brightly. She nodded at him and finished her ice cream quickly as they ran towards the restaurant. Alicia forced her memories with a painful smile. The boy she loved limitlessly was standing in front of her as a mature man. But everything was changed in a cruel way. He was not the boy she loved, and he was nothing but a liar and a player who played with her whole life. Looking at Adrian's smile, she forced her tears back with all the good and bad memories they had. "Don't smile at me like this, Adrian. You're not the boy I loved, and you will never be again." "Adrian, is it true? Is it true that you're the son of Eric Harrison?" Her voice was trembling. She came to him with tears-filled eyes and then asked him. He was playing games from his phone, and he just simply threw the phone aside as he got up from the bed and looked at her. "Oh, how did you find it? Who told you?" With a sarcastic chuckle, he moved closer to her. The look she had on her face was unforgettable. She was heartbroken, and at the same time she was facing a betrayal. Seeing her gorgeous face, which had turned pale, he smirked with satisfaction. She wiped her tears and looked into his eyes as if she was questioning him why he lied to her for 3 months. "Adrian, why? Why did you hide from me?" With a small smile on her face, she asked to take his hand. She intertwined their fingers together and looked into his eyes, making his heartbeat go wild. She had been crying. Her eyes were red. Seeing her reddened eyes, he pressed his lips together, not knowing what the real feelings inside of his heart were. "Because I didn't want to tell a woman like you. You're such a money-thirsty woman. Don't touch me." Ignoring the feelings inside of his heart, he heartlessly pulled his hand from hers as he pushed her away. It was the first day he hurt her, and it was the last day he slept with her. She cried all night. She asked him to stop and let her go, but he never stopped. She was in his house, and he didn't give a damn about her cries. When he stopped his actions, she was utterly dismayed. Looking at the ceiling, she stayed without even moving her body, but tears never stopped coming out of her eyes. With a heart-throbbing pain, Adrian forced his memories back and looked at the woman in front of him. She was still gorgeous as before. She looked simply stunning. But the difference was she didn't smile at him and accept him like he always wanted. She even said that he would never be the boy she loved again. But the painful fact was, he was her Adrian, whom she loved more than anything. "I am the boy you loved, Lisa. You'll never be able to change that fact. I am still the him. You still love me even if you don't want to show it." Wanting to comfort his both mind and heart, he spoke looking at her. Then he wrapped his one arm around her waist and pulled her to him. He was the boy she loved. And that's it. She can never love another guy if it was not him. And he will never let her do it because from the beginning she was his. She was the treasure he kept in the deep inside of his heart for years without forgetting. He just couldn't forget her. Her smile, her love, and the way she looked at him with love and affection. He was craving her love 5 years ago, and even after 5 years he was still craving for her love. He loved the way she cared and loved. Even if he didn't love her back, he wanted to have all of her love selfishly. So he did it. He got everything from her as she gladly offered him without giving a damn about what will happen to her in the future. Her trust and unconditional love led her to hell, which was created by him only for her. I don't love you anymore, Adrian. That's the truth, and I will never love you again in my life. But I can tell you that you will never have a woman who truly loves you, like I did 5 years ago. You did this to me knowing how much I loved you. So do I have to love you again, Adrian? Her words pierced his heart mercilessly, even though he knew they were dangerously correct. He didn't want to believe that he did that kind of harm to her life. He still wanted her to love him as much as she did 5 years ago. He wanted to feel her love and warmth, which he missed for 5 years. Ignoring the fact that he hurt her, he lowered his head and pecked on her lips with a smile. Yes, you should love me again, Lisa. I will never hurt you, and I will also love you with everything I have. Let's just be together. I'll take you to see my parents. They will arrange everything for our wedding. I will marry you just like you always wanted me to.